I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
In the case of a Central Texas boy who, on video, was doing nothing, standing there watching a fight, and the police ran up and tasered him in the head. He fell over and hit his head. He's been in a coma. And the police are now saying in Bastrop, they are now saying outside Austin, and that's coming up in the next hour, get this, that, he might have already had a brain problem before. Just like the Kelly Thomas case. He must have had a heart problem before. It's not that we beat his head in and beat his windpipe in. It's just so crazy that they've militarized the police to this point, and a lot of cops try to defend it. It's going to give all the police a bad name. I mean, nobody wants militarized police. We want peace officers that if a bad guy really tries to do something, you got tough guys that deal with them. But not just any excuse to attack the public because you want to carry out some violence and it's so much fun. I mean, back when I was a teenager, I liked people starting fights with me, and I like to get in fights, but now, even though I have that side of me, I'm not out looking for fights just because once a fight starts, I like beating the hell out of people. I'm not a sadist. It's just that somebody starts a fight with me, once it starts, I enjoy it. I mean, I'm sorry. That's a normal, natural human side of people. I mean, I enjoy somebody taking a swing at me and then punching them upside the head and watching them hit the ground. And I can't help that. That's a normal instinct, but it's not to just walk up to some kid and taser him in the back, or some lady says, I want to see the radar gun. It's totally cowardly. So that's coming up. You want police that have a warrior instinct, but to actually fight bad guys, not turn it loose on kids and families and warrantless SWAT raids over drugs in the middle of the night when the government ships in almost all the drugs as an excuse to take over the society, and they keep drugs illegal to keep the price high, just like Jesse Ventura talked about with us a couple days ago on Monday. And we've got that video we're going to play later. Steve Watson wrote about it yesterday. The Washington Post is now covering it as well and did a video report on it. Cop SWAT team innocent family destroy evidence. There's another video up on Infowars.com of British police grabbing a citizen journalist and framing them, not knowing the camera's still rolling, saying they're going to frame them. It's like that Luke Radowski video where the literal goons, like out of Goodfellas for Larry Silverstein, come up and say, shut up, no free speech, we don't care if you're permitted, and then order the cops to go, that camera is the gun. Hey, the camera is a gun. Throw him in the hole 30 days. Doesn't matter, you're not a terrorist. We're going to frame you. The cops go, yeah, we'll frame him. They take the camera and then, I mean, that's all on video in my film, Truth Rising. They frame him on video and say, we're going to frame you. And they go, look, we got a gun right here. Sounds like a Looney Tunes voice, like Mel Blanc or something. You know the gangsters talk in Looney Tunes commercials? Or old Looney Tunes. Hey, boss, hey, look at him over here. What are we going to do to him? Yeah, we got badges and guns now. What's he going to do about it? So that's coming up. Now, shifting gears out of that, ladies and gentlemen, this is really huge news. This is the UN takeover of 90% of America, the rural areas. And this is what it's been set up to do. This is what the United Nations has done in third world countries, in Burma, in Central Africa, in Latin America, in just all over the world. They come in, and it's part of a receivership, and this is going to tie into these articles that I have today. Greece starts putting islands up for sale to save economy. Remember that from 3 years ago in 2010? Greece starts putting island land up for sale to save economy. Of course, it didn't save it, made it worse, and it was giving the land to the very hedge fund managers that had set Greece up. And that ties into this new Economist article out today, the $9 trillion sale. Government should launch a new wave of privatizations, this time centered on property. That's right, federal and state lands to be given to the very central banks that ran the whole scam. This is what they've done in third world countries. They're now going to do it to us. It's already begun in Europe. But to do that, you've got to go back to the 1993 maps that shot down the full adoption of Agenda 21 Rio de Janeiro treaty that George Herbert Walker Bush had tried to get when he left office in 1993. And Dr. Michael Kaufman and others got the UN maps and blew them up to be able to show Congress and C-SPAN. And anybody can simply search Dr. Michael Kaufman biodiversity maps, or you can simply search UN Agenda 21 U.S. maps, and you'll see half of the United States. It's a big U.S. map showing half the country in red, where you have the biosphere reserves, and showing how people won't be allowed into those areas. That's why they're kicking people off the BLM. Yes, you found it. That's it, Nico. It's the red map right there in front of you. That's why all of this is going on. And if you click on the larger maps, you can see it. You can see their simulated biosphere reserves from 1993. All the areas in red, no human use. Yellow, highly controlled use. Green, human use. They've got other colors for normal use, military use, Indian reservations. But you can see half the country, roughly, in red, no human activity, no one even allowed into it. This is the rewilding. But they have to do this to get the land off use so they can then turn around and give it to the globalist for mining, timber, whatever they want. But to do that, they've got to pass laws, regulations to shut down family farms, to shut down beef production, to only allow big pharma-controlled, big agri to operate. That's what all these laws and all these regulations are for. That's the program. And we had an article about it back in 2011, Executive Order 13,575, theft of rural and agricultural lands for UN Agenda 21. And it goes through the whole executive order, the trade representatives, all the documents, all their plans, and who runs it under the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense. And under that, under State, Defense, and Homeland, then Treasury, Transportation, Health and Human Services, U.S. Trade Representatives, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, that's for spying on them with the satellites and drones, and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Now, under this, they say, and I cover this in my film from 1997, America Destroyed by Design. Go watch that film. It's free online, or you can buy the DVD, InfoWarsStore.com, and support us and have a hard copy. But the point is, they said then that they had to get the land off use for a few decades, and then they would take it as receivership on the national debt, which isn't even really our debt. They've signed us on to the trillions of derivatives that aren't our debt. So there's that article. Here is some of the other articles that tie into this. Center for Rural Affairs, White House Rural Council, role and impact. The reason I'm going over this is there's a big new development that I'm going to cover here in just one moment. Then you can read the executive order at whitehouse.gov itself and see that for yourself, how the Pentagon is going to set up these spy hubs, these threat fusion centers over the rural affairs to spy on everyone, to infiltrate local media, as the Pentagon said they do 4 months ago, to bring in federal funds to buy off the local leadership and to make people think it's a good deal to waive their rights to sign on to the premises ID, the animal ID, all of it. Here's the Blaze from 2011, breaking it down. Does new White House Rural Council equal UN Agenda 21? Absolutely. Now, I have covered that. Here is the new article out of The Hill today. Obama launches climate hubs to help farmers and communities. And, of course, there's a disgusting video of him announcing this as well. The Obama administration will announce the establishment of regional hubs, all that farm money, folks, focused on mitigating climate change on Wednesday. The hubs are the first ever regional centers. This is why they're going to surveil you, the green police, for your own good. With the drones, with the satellites, with NASA, the hubs are the first ever regional centers that will focus solely on risk adaptation and climate change solutions at 7 locations across the country, then setting up offices through the 14 other federal agencies headed up by the Department of Defense. Dubbed climate hubs, the new centers will address issues like increasing risk of fires, because they won't let you cut areas to protect with fire breaks, invasive pests, devastating floods, crippling droughts. The officials said the centers will aim to translate science and research into usable information for farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners to adjust their resource management. Oh, doesn't that sound nice? This is literally the civilian force, just as big and just as strong as our military. In fact, it's only 14 seconds. Can you guys pull up Obama calls for domestic security force? We need a civilian force just as big, just as strong as our military. And this is how they're rolling it out. The threat fusion centers on record spy on the Tea Party gun owners, integrate all the illegal NSA data, grab all the open intelligence and integrate it in. And now they're rolling out the rural affairs offices with Homeland Security, armored vehicles, you name it, spy grids. They tell local farmers, oh, come to a meeting to fight terror. And you get to the two-day meetings at the hotels, and they spend 15 minutes on an Al-Qaeda video showing them doing training drills, and they switch to, is your neighbor growing marijuana? Do they spank their kids? Are they cutting trees they're not authorized to? Did you know you can get environmental money for spying on your neighbors? I mean, we've sent people to these. We've covered these. We've gone over this. Derry Brownfield, the late syndicated host on this network, covered it all with his Rural Affairs show 1 hour every day. This is ultra massive. So again, they start cutting off the resources, only giving the big subsidies to big agra. Beef production's plummeting to the lowest level in modern history. Family farms are shutting down everywhere because they have computers. Ranchers have never gotten lower prices for their beef. And then the meat packers have put all the little guys out of business with regulations that they're all exempt from. They can be as dirty as they want, radiate the beef, you name it. And then they fix it all at the big three meat packer level, tens of billions a month in profit, to where record beef prices when you go buy beef, but the farmer doesn't get almost anything. It is so important to go to these local co-ops and things where people own their own beef. 10 people own a cow with a farmer. They slaughter it. You get it all fresh, what you want fresh, frozen, what you want frozen. You can't get better beef. And you've got to go to the extra trouble to do that, folks. I'm telling myself this as well. I'm bad about going to the store and, buying supposedly organic beef or whatever. The totally jacked up prices. You can go right to a farmer, get it at half the price or less, and it's much better. But you've got to go the extra mile to do it, and then it will create markets in your area. That's why they're trying to shut down all the lemonade stands, shut down the bake sales, shut down any little farmers markets. That's why, because they know that's the resistance. This is a total military takeover. This is siege. It's a Soviet model. They're not actual Soviets running it. It's not actual communists running it. They use communism as the management model. What did Mao do when he got control? Forced all the farmers to come off the land. First, he put for 5 years spy grids, rural affairs offices in, got all the spies in place. Then they said, we're collectivizing you, and it killed 80 million plus people. Cultural revolution, great leap forward. What did Lenin do in Ukraine and other areas in Poland? They killed a good 30 mil at gunpoint, but also at the point of just turning off all the food and not letting people produce. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. And then you're totally broken, you're totally destroyed. This is the plan. You've absolutely got to start growing gardens in the spring. You've absolutely, just to promote that culture and to talk about it in your backyard, in your front yard, you've absolutely got to put chickens in your backyard, just even a couple of them, as an act of resistance and a way to talk to your neighbors. Every major city allows you, because of grandfathered laws, to have fowl. Because until just the 50s, pretty much everybody had a couple chickens, even on rooftops. Eating the extra food that you would normally put in the garbage disposal or throw in the trash for a landfill. You've got to bring that back, because they're trying to now pass laws to ban it. They want you under their full control. They want to control the food. This is the oldest form of control. When the Romans would first capture an area in Gaul or in Germania or in the Rus areas or in other areas, in Israel, the first thing they would do when they reconquered Israel was basically ban anyone owning their own farms and running them. They'd put Romans over it and control it. This is ancient, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going under. We could supply the whole world with food until about 1979. We could supply the entire world its food from the 40s on through the 70s. And before that, we produced about half the world's food. 4% of the world's population, we could feed the planet. Now, America is importing, last time I checked, 40% of its food. That's what the subsidies were about, was controlling markets, saying don't produce, so they could get you used to that. Before, we'd have food coming out our ears, ladies and gentlemen, and farmers made more money. And you're like, but if they produce more food, how would they make more money? Because it was more diverse, it was more local, there were different chains of supply, there was less middlemen. But not anymore. In fact, now all over the place, people would just stop on the side of the highway all over the country and sell produce they'd grown. They're sending out the code enforcers to shut that down. In fact, I've seen Austin's code enforcers on 360 stopping people. One day I was late. I pulled over, found out it was happening. My iPhone wasn't charged, didn't get it on video, was late, didn't get it, but I'm going to get it. In fact, but I saw them harassing people for selling firewood on the side of the road. And it's just, when you see that, it is such an assault on humanity. I cannot describe it enough to you. But Obama is launching another spy grid domestically. These people are not your friends. Here is Obama calling for his domestic security force.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
And again, they've done this in country after country where the people running our nation have put in authoritarian regimes as well. They have gone and shut down the rural population's food production.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
None of us are perfect, but we've got to try to go to the farmers markets. We've got to try to buy from local producers. I buy milk from an Amish group, Mennonite group, really, outside of San Antonio. Best milk ever. Totally raw. Lasts like twice as long. It's like a nature's vaccine. Just so amazing. There's a lot of different groups. I mean, and this is happening, and it threatens the system. That's why I buy from southern Mexico in the high mountains the high-quality Chiapas farmer-grown directly from their co-op, volcanic soil-grown, Wake Up America blend immune support. I've been drinking this for 15 years, similar types that are hard to get. Now we have a source directly down there to the major co-op, and so they get almost all the money. When I buy the raw beans, take them up to Colorado, have them roasted, packaged, and then shipped out to you. 2 different Wake Up America blends. And why are the Chiapans the only Mexicans that haven't been dominated in 50-plus years of the government trying to take their property and force them up to Mexico City like all the other slaves in Mexico? Because they are farmers and they have old guns, many of them 80 years old or more, and they're willing to kill people for their property. And because of that, even though I don't agree with their politics, it doesn't matter. They've got guts, and guts is enough. I buy coffee directly from them. And they send in armored vehicles. They send in thousands of Mexican troops to attack them on a routine basis, to the point of the Mexican government's made a truce with them and pulled out of most areas of Chiapas because they won't back off. So you know what I do? I like the coffee. I love the coffee. Isn't it funny, the best coffee to me is the coffee from people that are willing to fight to the death for their land? That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So I try to support them, and you support them as well when you buy this coffee. And I didn't mean to get off into a plug here. It's just, that's what this is all about. Raymond Teague, the NASA scientist, a good friend of mine who died last year. So many great people died last year. My God. And my uncle, 3 days into this year. God, I can't believe he's gone. Such a good man. Such a loving person. Such an honorable person. Makes me want to be a better person, just thinking about him. That's what good people are supposed to do, is challenge us to be like them. But Raymond, you know, he would always buy cows from local farmers, and he would butcher them himself. He's one of those guys that could skin a buck, run a trot line, and run the cameras on the space shuttle or the Skylab or on the moon. He said, we went to the moon. Raymond was my good friend. He wasn't a liar. He said there was secret technology involved and he couldn't talk about it. And he died before he told me everything. He almost told me more at a meeting with Jim Mars at a hotel, but he was like conditioned. He started choking up. He goes, I can't. I said, I was going to tell you, I can't. I swore. But the whole point is that he's gone now. I'll never know. And then with Dr. Bob Bowman, former head of Star Wars, all he told me is they had a fleet of over 100 robot drones in orbit by 1979 with DU Shaybos that could decapitate and kill every major government, every leader in 1 hour.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.